Maybe you've been watching some of my videos and thinking, this guy is an absolute idiot. Yeah, if you are new, you may not have any opinion, but welcome to this video. So I am here to prove I'm not an idiot. So first, before crossing the road, I look right, look left, and then look right again, and then I cross the road. I'm not an idiot. When I get up in the morning, I get out of bed with my right leg and then the left leg. No chance for bad luck. Extremely smart move. Yeah. Then, when I hear an owl hooting, I put salt in the fire and then I inhale that scent. We all know if you don't put salt in the fire, that night you're going to die. I can't afford to die for being an idiot, so I'm not an idiot. I do exactly that. Then, if there's a thunderstorm, I make sure I remove any red piece of clothing that I'm wearing. Yeah, I do that. Everyone knows that lightning strikes every red thing it comes across. I have to be careful about this. I look and I I don't want to be struck by lightning, and I haven't been struck right now, which means my method is working. So I'm not an idiot. I don't do that. Then when I walk next to a grave, I don't point at the grave. That's just inviting bad luck into my life. It's that simple. Yeah. So and before I eat or drink, I pour libation to my ancestors. That's just basic decency and respect. I don't want my ancestors to get angry and end my short life. Then, when I sleep, I always face the north. That's just how it's meant to be. You're supposed to face the north when you're sleeping. Ask your ancestors if you have access to them. That's it. That's it. Then, when I greet someone, I always greet them with my right hand. So, greeting someone with your left hand is just total disrespect to that person and to humanity as a whole. We all know that. And when I walk, I always walk on the right side of the road. It's very important that I see the cars that are approaching me. I don't want cars approaching me from behind. Only an idiot walks with cars approaching from behind. You need to see the cars that are coming towards you. That's just basic common sense, as I would say. So when I walk, I don't look back. Everything I want is ahead of me. Yeah? Everything I want is ahead of me. Looking back is a sign of fear and confusion. I'm fearless. I'm an intelligent man, not an idiot. Then I always pour cereal before the milk. I need to make sure the cereal is not overly soggy. So put the cereal first and then add the equivalent amount of milk. That's just basic common sense. Then when I eat ugali, I always eat with my hands, not a spoon. I'm not a moron. Or I was still an idiot. Yeah, when I sleep, I don't sleep on my stomach. I don't know what people who do this are suffering from. It's a disease. How can you sleep with your stomach? Yeah, and when I'm at the urine, if you're a man, you understand this. I look directly up, like up. I always look up, not below, not ahead, and absolutely not to the side. That's just illegal, and it's common sense also. I also don't reply to greetings that are not meant for me. That's being a moron. Why would you do that? Yeah. So I also don't wear socks with slippers. No, that's bad behavior. I don't comb my hair backwards. I think that's what women do. At least that's how I've always known it. Women comb to the back. As a man, I should always comb my hair towards the front. That's how it's meant to be. Then I don't turn my entire body to look at someone. If someone is on my side, I don't turn my entire body to look at them. I just turn my neck because that's just how it's meant to be and how it has always been. Then I always wear my clothes inside out whenever a magician is performing. It is the ultimate trick to block all evil powers it is using to perform his magic. I don't want to be possessed by his evil powers. That would be just plainly stupid if I let that happen. I'm very conscious about that. My spirits need to be clean and pure. And when chewing, I want to chew with my mouth closed. Who chews with the mouth open? The food might escape. I don't want any of the food to escape. It's my nutrition. It's my lifeline. Yeah. Then I always check under my bed for a monster before going to sleep. You can never be too careful with this. You never know whether a monster got in or not. Whether monsters are real or not, who knows? But you don't want to find out by sleeping and then the monster comes out in the dead of the night and strangles you or eats you up. You need to be careful. Make sure the door is open when you're looking under the bed so that you can just run away if there's a monster. Then, if my mother happens to tell me to carry an umbrella, I will do it. It doesn't matter how hot the sun is in that morning or how cloudless the sky looks. My mother is always right about the weather. If she says it's gonna rain at 2 p.m., no matter how unlikely it looks, please be careful. Carry a jacket and an umbrella because it's going to rain. She knows. I don't know how she does, but she does. Then my mother's name is mom, and my dad's name is dad. There are no other names for them, and it's very disrespectful for me to call them by any other name. Whatever is written on their IDs doesn't matter. They are mom and dad forever from birth to death. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Then I always hold the door for the person behind me. It's just basic human decency. I don't understand people who just let the dog knock the people behind them. It's unacceptable. Yeah, it's unacceptable. Then I always say excuse me after I sneeze. Who in this world doesn't do that? You have to. It's the only way to live this life. Every time you sneeze, excuse me. And if someone sneezes, you tell them bless you. That's just it. Then I always wake up when the rooster crows in the morning. I can't go back to bed after that. It's just not natural. It is the most natural alarm clock the world gave us. I don't know how the chicken know when it's time to wake up in the morning because they crow at the exact same time every morning and they're always right. So I always follow them as well. Then I never stare a gangster in the eye. Yeah, you don't want to do that. If I are a real gangster out there, don't stare them in the eye. This is asserting dominance and will just lead to an unnecessary fight because they will fight you for no reason. Just looking at them like too seriously, they're going to take that as an offense. They're going to beat you. People have been killed for less. So you need to make sure you don't do that. So I never sleep with anyone's girlfriend or wife or boyfriend or husband. We all know what happens after that. Yeah, there's nothing pretty that comes out after that. Then I never call anyone after 10 p.m. Yeah, don't do that. If it's 10 p.m., sleep. Unless there's a serious emergency, call 911 after 10 p.m. It's the only number you're allowed to call. No, I also don't sleep while standing. I don't understand these morons that can just sleep while standing and fall off like no one. Unless you're sick and you have a disease that makes you just fall asleep anyway. But if you're normal, no sleeping when you're standing. No. I also don't pee in bed when I have a dream that I'm peeing. Some people dream that they are peeing and then they just pee on themselves in bed. I don't do that. I'm not a moron. Then I don't scream when I have a nightmare. You know, some people will have a nightmare and they'll wake up screaming and waking up everybody in the house because of their bad dreams. Your bad dreams are meant to stay with you. Don't scream. Yeah. I also don't let myself be a third wheel in a relationship. That is just purely wastage of my time. Why would I do that? I also don't stay in the friend zone. Yeah, I leave once I see that it's a friend zone. I completely abandon the friend. I don't want to be in the friend zone, man. I can be a friend, but I'm not going to be in the friend zone. Yeah, I also don't sleep naked. I have seen people do that, and it's unacceptable. No sleeping naked. I also don't use an electric toothbrush. That's just lazy. Only lazy people want a machine to rotate in their teeth. They don't want to brush their teeth like normal. Yeah, I also don't use the elevator or the escalator. I'm a real man. I take the stairs, the 100th floor. That's just it. I also don't like pink. I am not supposed to like pink as a man who I know that and I follow that to the letter. Even if I feel like liking it, I just unlike it. That's just it. I also don't confuse the left and the right shoe. Never. I never put the left shoe on the right or the right shoe on the left. I also don't sleep with the lights on. What kind of moron sleep with the lights on? I've seen it and it's appalling behavior. I still find the bulb switch in the dark. Doesn't matter how dark is it, I always get to find where the bulb switch is. I also don't wash white clothes together with black clothes. Who taught you to do that? That behavior needs to change. I also always lock the door when I'm in the bathroom. Yeah, I need to make sure the person who's outside knows there is someone inside. You don't just leave it open and let them think that it's free reign. They can just do whatever they want. I also make sure my phone is turned off or on silent mode when I'm during important meetings. That's just basic human decency. Then I always say I love you back, even if I don't mean it. It's just basic human decency. If someone says I love you, say you love them back. Doesn't matter how you feel. Then I always tip 25% or more. Not this 10% crap or 0%, even worse. Yeah, I make sure it's 25% or more, sometimes 50 to 100%. Then I always say please, sorry, thank you. Each and every day I practice those values. They are the greatest values that have ever been inculcated into this humanity. Those words are very important to make sure you use every day so that you are grounded and know where you're headed. Then I always surrender my seat to an older person or a pregnant woman in a car or a bus or wherever we are, or in a hospital or somewhere. Make sure those people are well taken care of. Because when I'm there, I will not be pregnant, but when I'm old and I see a youngling just seated down and I'm standing and I have no energy to stand, I'm going to be very disappointed in that guy. And I don't want my older friends to be disappointed. So I always do that. I also never correct my elders, even if I think they're wrong. They're always right. And they believe so, and I should also believe so. It doesn't matter how wrong I think they are. I'm always on the wrong. Yeah. I also don't play peekaboo with the baby. I respect the intelligence of the babies. Babies are very intelligent creatures. They can see through the nonsense. A certain aunt of mine was trying to teach me high five, and I thought she was treating me like a baby, and I didn't like it, and I was a baby. So I don't do that. I also don't climb trees and jump up hoping to fly. That's primitive behavior. That's what you do when you're 0 years old. Not when you are whatever years old after that. It's not acceptable. You know you can't fly. Why are you trying to fly? I also don't practice witchcraft. It's just an insult to my intelligence. That stuff doesn't work. It's unbelievable if you believe that such a thing should work. I also don't believe in horoscopes. Like I'm a Virgo or something. Like apparently I'm a Virgo and that's supposed to be something bad. Most people are not very. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. That's another insult to my very great intelligence that I value so much. I also pray before I eat. I'm not a moron, man. I have to thank God, the provider, or whoever provides. If I don't believe in God, I have to thank them with a word of prayer. I am eating today, and that's good. I also don't drink human milk. And I'm really sorry for having engaged in that behavior at any age, even if I was 0 years old. That's unacceptable behavior. I don't know why I did that. And if I had a chance could go back, I would stop that and make sure I never do that. Cow milk every day forever. I also don't open more than 10 tabs on my browser. Who are these morons who have 45 tabs open on their browser? That needs to stop. I don't do more than 10. 10 is already too much. Then I don't eat ugali with tea. That's just unacceptable behavior. Find some greens, some sukuma wiki, some spinach to eat with it. Like tea, no. Milk, maybe. I don't know, even milk is not very acceptable. Then I don't carry all my documents and IDs in one wallet. They said you don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's putting all your important documents in one wallet is doing the same thing as that. If it gets lost, you lose everything all at once. That's not a smart move. I also don't say good morning in the afternoon. Who are these morons who forget that it's past noon and they still say good morning? I don't do that. Then I don't leave one potato in the plate after eating. Apparently, it's etiquette to leave one potato on the plate when you're handing it over. I finish everything and I lick the plate. Then I don't buy Instagram likes. I know how to buy them and get 100,000 likes for as much as less as 5,000 shillings. But I will never do that. I'm not buying Instagram likes. Even if my post gets 0 likes, that's it. I'll live with that. Then I always knock on the toilet door before attempting to open the door. You don't want to find someone in the middle of their extreme private business as you're getting in. That's just invasion of the privacy of the worst order. Yeah. So that's it. I always knock before I enter. Then I don't lie on my resume or my CV. That's just unacceptable. So yeah, these proves I'm not an idiot, but I'm still a bastard. Yeah. My father likes to call me that because he got me when he was out of marriage. He's still not married yet. So I'm a full blown bastard. Thanks.